buy a can of tenants at a shop for like £1 or something, when you go to a bar and spend £4 on it. It's the exact same thing.
Also, tenants is crap.
I know, but like, as in alcohol in general,
Not
like,
wrong.
why would you spend 2-3 times the price?
You guys are live on the internet, by the way. Well done.
Tenant sucks.
Alright, we ready to do this?
I thought we were live on the internet.
We're live on the internet. We're
So
now
nobody can
live
hear us.
recording as well.
Is that your
Woo!
intro? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live?
Are we live?
We don't have. There's
Are
a
we
man
live?
taking a photograph of outside of our shop. Everyone wave! Yeah,
Everyone say hi! Alright, here we go. Welcome to the Zen Nudes podcast live at R-CADE Glasgow. Can we get a woohoo? Woohoo! Very many
I
individual
love The
woohoos.
Sims.
Woohoo! Yeah. Anyway, how's everyone doing?
Welcome
Good
to the
evening.
second audio Senders podcast. If you're watching us live, ignore that. Don't ignore that. Listen to us back on iTunes and or SoundCloud.
Yes.
Where we post all of the podcasts from now on in audio only format.
So it's for your ears, not
And
for
your-
your eyes.
But also your eyes.
But for now, for your eyes.
But later for your ears. And you can listen to it on the train or on a plane. In the ground or up in Spain.
Or up in Spain.
Yep.
Spain's down the way.
Not if you're from Antarctica.
I suppose. Anyway,
Do you hear? No.
should we kick things off with some arcade news?
Do we have news?
We have news.
We're closing. Every week.
Every
Every week.
No,
Not this
arcade.
time,
No,
not today.
Not today, Satan. Arcade news.
Inappropriate film these days. Inappropriate film. Great film.
So, what's happening at Arcade? Tomorrow evening, we have Wild and Kind back in the house. Wild and Kind are bringing back their scrapbooking workshop. Woohoo! Wild and Kind are a lovely bunch of ladies in the east end of Glasgow. They have a studio there. You should check them out online, Wild and Kind Studio. Just search your favourite social media for them. They'll be doing scrapbooking here at Arcade. It's a free workshop for those who identify as female, or was it Michelle again? I always get this wrong.
Anyone who identifies as female or having a marginalised gender.
Marginalised genders as well, of course, yes. So come down for some scrapbooking. Get a hold of Wild and Kind. They run the event, so we don't have any control over the spaces or the ticketing. You need to talk to Wild and Kind if you want to attend that. Thursday, Modding Club is back. Yes. Yeah.
Lewis is excited.
Modding Club is back. I'm going to be doing a backlit Game Boy Pocket. Hopefully, if my parts arrive, then I will be doing some N64 thumbstick replacements as well. It's all down to whether or not they get delivered tomorrow.
I'm going to be waiting at home for the Electric Man.
Ooh, the Electric Man's coming to Sam's house. Exciting times. And if I get the chance, I'm going to do some Game Boy stuff, Game Boy cartridge battery replacements as well. I know Lewis, one of our regulars here, he is looking to do that. So if you have any sort of Game Boy related stuff you want to do, drop us a message or just come in.
If you want a Game Boy,
It's free to join the Modding Club, by all means. We have a group on Facebook as well, by the by, if you want to show off any of your custom builds. I'm working on something very, very special, which I might announce on Thursday. I am not sure whether I want to yet. But yeah, that's Thursday. Friday is our usual late night arcade. So Arcade Late's on from 7 PM on Friday. As always, it's bring your own bottle, over 18s only. There is a cartridge charge, of course. Pardonnez-moi. You'll be here.
Contractually, yes.
Yes, contractually, Sam will be here.
I will be here bringing the fun and the sun.
The fun and the sun.
That is part of my contract. So if there is no sun, heat lamps will be provided.
Heat lamps.
Terms and conditions apply. But yeah, Friday night fun. Corkage fees apply, as Andy said. Some good, wholesome over 18s action fun. We've just been testing some new games here in the shop that aren't necessarily over 18s, but are incredibly fun,
Really
particularly
good fun
when
to play,
drunk.
actually.
So
Yeah, that'd be good.
swing by. Saturday wise, we've
Saturday's
got a
a complicated
lot
one,
of bookings. We don't have it nailed down when we're open and when we're closed as of yet, so check our social media for that throughout the rest of the week. We will be announcing exactly when opening and closing times are. On top of that, there may or may not be an Arcade Lates. Stay posted for that.
We'll see.
We're leaning towards no, so be aware of that. If you're interested in coming, make sure you're checking our social media. But we might decide that we want to, and if we are going to do that, it's going to be like an hour later than usual that we start.
Yeah.
That's Saturday. Sunday we've got our usual just family fun day. Bring down the kids, play some video games, play some board games, eat some nudge. We've actually, so we've just got a delivery in. Our stockists have reimbursed us with some
Meagering, the top noodle at R-CADE is back in stock. For those of you who have been missing it over the last week.
Top of that, much to my sadness and chagrin, there is only about a week left of our monthly special, our pork rib round, which if you haven't had yet, you need to get down because it's the best. Lewis is nodding. Lewis is nodding like a Churchill dog right now. It's so good.
I found them at that supermarket bit, but I couldn't make them right.
See, you need the expertise at R-CADE to get the noodles. Get your nudes spot on. Cool, so that's everything this week. A quick look forward to the week after. It is the beginning of the Easter holidays. So we're going to be rammed. There's going to be families all around all week. So we're open as usual, 12 to 7 most days, closed on a Monday of course. So if you want to get in and play some games during the holidays, make sure you do so quickly. Getting as close to 12 as you can, as it's probably going to be packed. We do have some workshops on. Michelle's going to be running some workshops on for the 2 weeks of the Easter holidays. From the Tuesdays, it's going to be t-shirt printing. Michelle, is that correct? T-shirt printing workshops. Wednesdays, it's going to be build your own controller. Our popular
Build your own controller Wednesdays.
Our most popular workshop is back. Basically, with build your own controller, you get to make a prototype of your very own controller. I've got a little magical thing called a Makey, which means you can hook it up to a laptop to actually play any games you want. So
kind of like a Moki but smaller.
No.
Do you know Moki?
No idea what Moki is. That a drink?
It's a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Is it a Yu-Gi-Oh card?
Like a giant marshmallow with wings thing. I can't explain Moki. Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh.
Anyway,
You fell asleep to Moki. That's really rude. Moki. Actually, no. Oh, you don't even watch the show, so you don't know that Moki does make people fall asleep. Oh, that was amazing. That was incredible. Wow. What a time to be alive. Sorry, what else are we doing in Easter?
So on the Thursday of both the weeks of the Easter holidays, we will be doing our new workshop, which is circuit board art. Basically, you're making art pieces, so you draw them out, and then you are using copper tape to finish off those art pieces, along with some batteries and some LEDs. You're going to light up your artwork. So you're making it's kind of teaching you about circuits and how they work and how they transfer current and transfer voltage. And on top of that, it's an art piece that you can take home with you to play with some batteries yourself.
Short circuit art?
Short. You could make.
I know.
You could make a Johnny 5 if you wish.
know.
Oh, Retro Game Exchange is now following. Thank you, Retro Game Exchange. Thank you very much. That's over my face. I did not mean to put that notification there. That's quite funny. I might move that. You're still beautiful.
Are we doing anything else?
Right now.
Are we doing anything else in terms of Easter break, or is it just usual fun
Easter
times?
break is just our usual stuffs. The Poke Club is back, of course, in the first week of the Easter holidays. That's April 4th, I believe. The calendar's under Sam's hands, so I can't really see it properly.
It's my mate's birthday, so I'll be busy that week.
No, it won't be. No, never mind. So yeah, Poke Club. So actually, Sunday this week, we totally missed it. Sunday this week is the first Pokemon Kids Club for us. So that's more sort of for younger ages. We can teach everybody how to play the Pokemon card game, for example. We can trade and battle between different versions of the games, whether it be Game Boy, DS, 3DS, not so much the Switch. But yeah, if you want to bring down your Pokemon games this Sunday coming, Poke Club will be on. Poke Club Kids will be on from 4 till 7. So don't forget that too. And I think that's it for R-CADE news so far.
Before we move on to other news, in terms of R-CADE news, just personal news, are there any other projects we want to do at the moment?
Any other projects?
Just like in terms of so people can hear what we're thinking of doing in our personal lives, rather than just jumping straight into like gaming in Japan.
I suppose.
And more than anything, I'm bringing this up just because I have another thing I want to do.
What's that?
So I sticker bombed a fireplace. For anyone who hasn't seen me show off those photos, it is awesome.
Nobody has.
Some people have, because I've talked about it and shown them, and I really liked doing it. I'm not artistic like some people, and therefore I have to rely on things like stickers to be artistic.
Okay.
And I found on eBay a bunch of unopened boxes of 1995 Power Rangers stickers.
Oh, very nice.
From both the TV series and the
I
movies.
was going to say, do you want the Pokemon stickers for your fireplace?
No, because that project's finished. Andrew, I have
original
a cupboard full of stickers that aren't being used right now. I'm trying to find things to do with them.
So are you trying to find more fireplaces?
No, it's just I want to do I want to sticker bomb things. If you want to pay me to sticker bomb something for you with whatever stickers I have lying around, I will do that for a very low fee. Just it needs to be something that I can have in my house and do it on. But what I'm wanting to do is get a blank canvas and sticker bomb it with stickers from that 1995 set.
Okay.
To have as like an art piece hanging in my house, because I'm like, that would be really, really cool. But I don't want to invest that much money into it because I've bought way too many Pokemon cards. But that's what I think I might end up spending my money on next week. Stupidly. Stupid money spent. That's my stupid art project for now, and I just wanted people to know that I want to do that because I might talk about it in the shop and I want to know that I want to do it.
I have 0 personal projects, as every single thing I do is entwined with R-CADE. So, yeah, I have nothing to add to that. I'm sorry. Anyway,
you saw Captain Marvel yesterday.
I did see Captain Marvel yesterday. Oh, Sean here's the words
Sean's
Captain
also
Marvel.
seen
He's
Captain
coming
Marvel.
over to chat.
No, I just want to hear your opinions on that.
Oh, alright, okay. Big
Listen
bag
to
of
the
balls.
podcast.
No, it was good. I actually quite enjoyed it.
That's
I felt like they
Spaceballs.
played it safe.
Maybe safe.
Very, very safe. I was reading an interesting article on the way home after watching the movie, and it was the producers of the film, and I think Kevin Feige as well, being questioned on why there was no love interest for Captain Marvel during the movie. And they felt like it had been done. Basically, every other superhero origin movie, Captain America, Iron Man, there'd always been a love interest that they had to deal with while they were dealing with their own sort of coming to terms with being a hero. And so they didn't want to do that with Captain Marvel. They wanted to make sure that she was just dealing with her own stuff.
This might say a lot about me, but there's 2 responses I have to that. One, I didn't even notice there was no love interest.
Really?
So it does not make a difference.
No, it doesn't make a
But
difference.
2, I did spend most of the film when her co-pilot friend was introduced going, is that her girlfriend? That's what I spent most of the film doing. So maybe it did matter to me, but just in a different way. But I didn't notice that there was no love interest because I created it in my own head.
It didn't occur to me either until I read that article afterwards.
Did you notice?
I didn't.
No, it doesn't matter. Do more of this. Films. It's nice. Having a love interest is good in superhero movies because there's that conflict.
Yeah.
Of like, do I like with the example of Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy in Spider-Man? It's do I tell them that I am this person? Having them in my life as someone that can be at risk. With Captain Marvel, it's she's already been at risk.
Impetus to save someone if they get put into mortal peril as well by whoever the bad guy is in that movie.
And it creates a human sentiment. Like Superman could just be this guy who goes around being the strongest creature on the planet, but he has a genuine love and affection for Lois Lane.
Yeah.
She's more important to him than anyone else, and it's like that creates like.
But I didn't feel like Captain Marvel.
It didn't need it because she had other relationships that weren't romantic.
Exactly. And I felt like it was good that they left that out because it then gave more time for her to deal with her own issues and her own backstory in terms of the memory loss and trying to remember who she was and kind of unraveling the story of where she came from.
Not everyone needs a relationship. We said this in the last podcast actually.
No, Sean, you don't need love.
Why did you direct that at Sean?
I don't know.
Why Sean
Just,
specifically?
Be happy with yourself, you know?
We talked about this in the last podcast. This is genuinely the second week in a row where we've talked about how you don't need to be in a relationship to be happy.
It's like that Daniel's Lost thing we were talking about before as well, where if you're not 100%...
Yeah, but we need to be in relationships to be happy.
If you're not 100% happy with yourself, then anyone else is just going to be giving you... trying to fill in that void, if anything, and not giving you anything on top of that. So.
I mean, I'm not 100% happy with myself, but I'm not someone that's bothered by the idea that adding someone to me is trying to fill a void. Like, I'm okay with having someone fill in a void in me, because it's not a massive void, but it's one of those things where it's just nice to have that additional person. And I appreciated his viewpoint in that stand-up special. Watch Daniel Sloth's content. If you've not, he's very funny, very smart, supports Scottish comedians.
Lovely boy.
Lovely boy.
Lovely boy.
He's younger than me.
He's a lovely boy.
But I don't totally agree with that sentiment.
But I take the Marie Kondo outlook on whether or not you should be with someone. So pick them up. If they don't bring you joy, then throw them away.
And when you throw them away, hug them and say thanks for the memories. And then scream Fall Out Boy.
For the memories.
Oh, even though
it's so
great. Wait, we're going to get content straight.
No, yeah, sorry, yeah, we can't. Oh, copyright. Anyway, moving on. That's been 15 minutes of nonsense. Should we talk about some... I have lots of gaming news to talk about!
We have one bit of gaming news.
No, you have one bit! I have 5 bits!
Okay, is there any more important than the major news?
Yes!
Fine.
Should we go with yours first?
No, go with what you've got, and then we'll end on my genius.
You're.
I have half an hour of
I
stuff
like
that
what
I
you
can talk
did
about.
there. I like what you
That
did
wasn't
there.
intentional.
That
but
was a
oh my
nice
god, that was
pun.
incredible.
Spoilers. Okay, so new Lord
So
of the
we're talking
Rings
about-
game is coming out.
We're talking about Fast and Furious.
No, new
You
Lord of
said
the Rings
spoilers.
game coming out. It's called the Lord of the Rings Gollum.
I heard about this.
You get to play as Gollum. Probably one of the least liked characters from the Lord of the Rings universe.
He's the Jar Jar of Lord of the Rings, yes.
So no, it's an interesting thing. So Warner Brothers, I think it is, owns the rights to, or is it New Line Cinema? They own the rights to anything that's Lord of the Rings related to Peter Jackson's universe of Lord of the Rings, the movies, of course. So any game that's made that's related to the movies has to be made through them. However, the books for Lord of the Rings, the original J.R.R. Tolkien books, are not licensed the same, and therefore anyone can pick up any bit of licensing from the books and make it into whatever they want. They don't have to go through New Line Cinema or Warner Bros. Or whoever it is. So you've got games related to the movies, like for example The Fellowship, the Two Towers, and Return of the King. Yes. So you've got the ones related to the movies, but then stuff like this new Gollum game doesn't have anything to do with the movies and doesn't have anything to do with that universe, so you can pretty much anybody can make a game of it, and it's not going to look like any of the Peter Jackson movies because it doesn't want to infringe on those copyright laws. So it's kind of weird. Like there are some really god-awful games based on the books, but then the games based on the movies tended to be not so bad.
It could either be very... What?
So the PS2 Hobbit game.
That PS2 Hobbit game was, again, not related to the movies, it was purely taken from the book, and therefore not licensed in the Peter Jackson universe.
You've
So,
got opinions on it, that sort of thing.
yeah, let's not
fair
talk
enough.
about that. So the big,
I-
what was it? There was a big MMORPG as well of Lord of the Rings that again was not related to
But
the movies.
There was a
whatsoever.
number of PS2 games that were quite good.
Yeah, so Two Towers is a fantastic
yeah,
game.
yeah.
And Return of the King, again, a fantastic game. I felt that built upon the first two games, Fellowship and then Two Towers, and then the third one is probably
Almost
one
like
of my
it was
favourites.
a trilogy.
Yeah, funny So
I
yeah,
would
new
say
Gollum
this
game.
Gollum game could go one of two ways. It could be very interesting and have fun gameplay aspects of like stealth. It could be quite a fun stealth game.
Yeah,
But I don't think they're going to go that way, and it's going to be really bad.
I think my main problem with it is that the Gollum that they depict will not be the Andy Serkis Gollum.
Yeah, and so
which
it'd be
is Andy Serkis just took Gollum to another level, and
No.
so
Not to do the thing that everyone who likes games, books, movies, TV shows, sports does, us. But here's my what would make a good Gollum game pitch for you.
what would make my good Gollum game?
Not would make your game good Gollum game good,
Wait.
but a pitch for what would be a good Gollum game,
A pitch for what would be a
which
good
isn't
Gollum
possible
game.
anymore. But would it be interesting to have a Telltale Games game
Hmm.
where you play as Gollum, but every now and then your decisions are overridden by the alternate Gollum inside your head? So it does. So for some aspects of it, your own decision is like overridden by your internal demons.
Yeah,
That would be interesting.
I would
Not good, but interesting.
I think if we just took Metal Gear Solid and reskinned it with Lord of the Rings and Gollum, that'd be quite nice.
Okay, I can accept.
Stealth.
It needs to be a stealthy game. If
It
it's not a
needs to
stealthy
be-
game, it's not going to be
It needs to be.
good.
Next up on my news is the blah 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 the PlayStation. What's it called? Maybe catch what it was called. I've totally forgotten what it's called now. PlayStation are basically following in the footsteps of Nintendo with their Nintendo Directs. State of Play, that's what it was called. So PlayStation's State of Play, which is their new sort of every few months we're going to release a video telling you about all the new stuff that we're doing, like Nintendo Directs. Also Xbox do Inside Xbox, which they've been doing for quite a while as well, I think.
Xbox still shows up at E3 though.
Yeah, that's a big waste of money.
Yeah, but it's good for the consumer.
So yeah, State of Play. It was a couple of days ago. Did you hear anything about what was
I
announced?
didn't.
No, mostly VR stuff actually. We're getting an Iron Man VR game.
Freddy's as well.
Five Nights at Freddy's, yeah, there's going to
Too
be a Five
much,
Nights at
too
Freddy's
much
VR
for
game. No Man's Sky is getting its new update, and that's going to include a VR update as
No,
well.
no.
So there's going to be No Man's Sky
People
VR.
already don't like that game. It's good now. Don't make it worse.
And what else
It's
was there?
playable now. Don't make it worse.
Remember?
Crash Team Racing. That was announced ages ago, though, right?
No,
There's no VR Crash Team Racing. No, I'm talking
No,
about
no,
VR,
no,
guys.
it
Stay
was-
on topic. Come on.
we're done with VR.
No, not done with VR. VR is awesome. I don't know why people
no,
are so.
I mean with that. I thought you were ending it off with all the games that were said.
So yeah, quite a few VR announcements on top of a few other things. So they did reveal a little bit more about Crash Team Racing. There was the Mortal Kombat 11 reveal as well. There was the old school versus new school reveal. So they put out a load of content to show you all the old school fighters that were coming back. So they announced Liu Kang and a few other fighters. Did you see the Shang Tsung announcement?
Was that this week or was that the one from?
That was this week, or maybe
No,
2 weeks ago.
What
So
Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat 11. They're going to be
Mortal
bringing in a
Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
Oh,
They're going to be bringing in a skin, which is the 1995 movie version of Shang
my
Tsung into the
God.
game,
Excellent.
which is going to be freaking awesome. Carrie, I can't remember the actor's name.
Fisher.
Fukunaga. Fukunaga?
Yeah, something
No,
like
that's the
that.
kind of water.
No, kind of Fukunaga.
Carrie, sorry for getting your surname
Yeah.
so wrong so many times. So he's going to be in
Carrie
Mortal Kombat
fucking
11. I think that's awesome. A nice little nod to the 95 film starring
Andrew, I've got this-
Christophe Lambert.
I've got this giant bottle of water. Can you carry Fukunaga?
No. Okay, my next piece of... Because you just want to get to your piece of news.
No, I was looking at news and I was struggling to
Wait.
find news other than my piece of news, and in all honesty, it's because
There's loads of stuff.
there is loads of stuff, but
Loads of
this
stuff
is a
happening.
big thing to talk about with
of
comparison
stuff
to
happening.
everything else we've talked about since we started doing this podcast.
Okay. Well, before we go to Sam's apparently only bit of news this week, sorry. There's the rumor flying around that there's going to be 2 new Nintendo Switches released possibly at Christmas this year.
Shock and awe, Nintendo is making variants on their home console.
So there's supposedly going to be a Nintendo Switch Lite and a Nintendo Switch Pro.
Not
They're not
a
officially
3DS.
called those. I know they're supposedly the Lite is to actually phase out is to replace the 3DS.
No, I know that. They've
Um,
stopped manufacturing 3DSs.
Yeah.
But what I'm joking about is the fact that they did that with the DS. Do you want a Nintendo DS or a DS Lite? Do you want a 3DS? Do you want a DS XL? Now we've already got Nintendo Switch.
Last, I think, if I
Person
remember correctly,
Carry Hiroyuki.
Hiroyuki Tagawa. Yeah.
Okay.
if I remember correctly,
Thanks.
last
Not
3DS game to
Fukunaga.
come out is Persona Q,
does.
Persona Q2. That's the last ever 3DS game that's coming out. And it's been going to be released in the summer, if I remember correctly.
There
This
you go.
summer?
Yeah, this summer.
There's
So
your
that's-
info now.
But they're not releasing any more PS3s.
So, a Switch Lite, which is supposedly it's going to get rid of the HD rumble sort of force feedback that they do in the Joy-Con, so it's not going to have that. And supposedly it's going to have a sort of toned down screen. I don't know if they're going to change the internals with the processor, etc. But there's no sort of confirmed
This is just
news
to make
about
it
that
cheaper.
yet.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Supposedly, with the Pro version of the Switch, they're going to be looking at possibly adding an OLED screen. That'll do better. An OLED screen instead of the LCD that's currently in the Switch. So, and supposedly they're also going to be upping it to a 1080 resolution instead of the 720 that the Switch can currently do. The Switch can do 1080, but only when plugged into an external screen like a television or monitor.
What were you gonna
I was going to say, like, taking away the HD rumble, that's going to affect like some of the moons in Super Mario Odyssey because
Well,
you need that
that's-
specific ones.
That's the thing. If you take away the HD rumble, it's going to limit the actual games that it can play. Which is why I'd probably say they're going to sort of limit the games totally. So it's more like a 3DS kind of. It's more about being cheaper and more portable, but it won't be able to play all the games that the full Switch.
I
will be
was
able to do.
going to say, like, it's something that gets more people onto the Nintendo market. Like, people will have seen the Switch and go, "That's nice, but it's a bit too expensive
Well, I
for
mean,
me."
we want to Switch, right?
Yeah,
Not together.
we can switch together.
We can Switch. You want to
Yeah,
Switch?
no.
Here, sit here.
Nintendo Switch.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
Swiss.
That was unnecessary. That's going to annoy the audio listeners. It will
Get
get
used to
more
it by now.
people. It will get more people into their marketplace buying more of their games. So in the long run, Nintendo
Yeah.
will make money from it. I think removing the HD rumble is a bad call. I would prefer to have it with the HD rumble.
I dare say they might replace it with
A
SD
different-
rumble.
Yeah, something that's not
Some
as
sort of like
heavy duty.
some sort of simpler rumble function. Because getting rid of it completely. If anyone has sort of PSD controllers, you'll know this. Like the original PlayStation 3 controllers, when they were released, the 6-axis controllers did not have rumble in them. They're very light, they're very plasticky, because they didn't have any sort of weights in the handles of the controller. Sony came out and said that this was due to the fact that it interfered with the motion controls of the 6-axis. But a lot of people were just like, no, it's really just cheaper not to put them in. Because a few years later they released the proper DualShock 3 with the 6-axis together, and made it work. So there you go. But yeah, not having the rumble feature is actually makes a big difference. So.
It will make a bit. I mean, neither of us have played a Switch. I've not played a Switch.
I've played a Switch many
Neither
times.
of us own a Switch.
Many times.
I might get one.
I want to get a
Before
Switch.
June, I can't. There's someone doing Irish dancing on the side of the road. She stopped now. Now I'm just staring at a person.
Jesus.
That's
Anyway.
all I have to say.
Shall we move on to your last piece of gaming news, Samuel?
I genuinely think this is a major news
It's
story.
really not. I don't care.
You will-
Probably because I hate the company.
So Apple have won the space race.
No, they've not.
They
Google
have.
are going to beat them down.
So
Stadia.
Stadia.
See, it's already catchier.
I told you, I started this. Google pay me. Okay, let me put it to you this way. Who was the first nation to get an animal into the atmosphere? Thank you, in-house audience. It was Russia. Who was the first nation to get man on the moon?
That I'm not.
Supposedly Russia, but we don't know if anybody's actually been
No,
to the moon.
America.
Yeah, I did say that.
Has anyone been to the
America
moon?
was
You
there
sure they've been
first.
to the moon?
The point is,
Start the conversation. Here we go. Were the moon landings actually real?
No, they were
it's not,
fake.
it's not what we're talking about. The point is,
Photoshop.
the point is, if we're talking, right, this is why I think this is the major news story for this week.
Major
Because
news story.
A massive thing that we've been talking about since we started doing this podcast in December of last year is something that everyone's been talking about for the last couple of years, which is the Netflix of games.
I've mentioned it once. I don't know why he's getting something. His panties in such a twist about it.
Because it is supposed to be the future of gaming. We've talked about it at least 3 times, because we talked about it last week when Stadia was announced, because that was supposed to be
It's
the
the
first
only time I remember
idea.
talking about
We've
it.
talked about it when the Xbox discless came out, or has been leaked, because that's supposed to be leaning towards
I
the
suppose.
future of
Okay,
and
two.
We've mentioned about it at some other point previously. I'm just going to assume. The thing with this is,
So we're having a lover Sif on live on the air. I'm so sorry.
Apple sound to have
Good.
done it.
Done what?
Like, so last week we reported Apple are looking to expand their video game foray.
Yeah.
This week we're talking about Apple have created a subscription service where you can play games across tablet, mobile, laptop and Apple TV.
Okay.
Cross-platform subscription-based gaming, which is for one household. And it's not just going to be their own application-based games, it's also going to be third-party games and software, which could be major developments, including the announcement that they've got 100 unique titles at launch.
Okay. When's it launching?
Don't know.
What's it called?
It's called Apple Arcade.
Okay. And how is it different from Google Stadia?
It's not. But Google Stadia is, by most accounts of people in the online community, not necessarily possible.
Has anybody used Apple Arcade yet?
No.
No.
So Google Stadia is ahead because somebody they already tested it last year. Beta tested it.
Yeah, but not
Live
to
with people.
great level. Last year or last week, you mean?
No, last year. There was 4 months where they tested in-browser gaming.
What games?
Assassin's Creed
Well,
Odyssey.
The problem with, the comparison between the two of them is that Google Stadia is touting that it's online play as well. Like, they're talking a huge amount about things like first-person shooters and stuff like that, where there's Apple Arcade is intending to be single-player stuff, or so it would seem. So they don't need to worry about things like the connection to the internet and things like that. Like, you don't need to have a fast internet connection to play it because it's not streaming games.
What's not
It's
streaming
downloads.
games?
Isn't it?
Apple Arcade. So it's not a subscription service.
No,
then
it's
for
a
streaming.
subscription service,
But you have to download the games.
but you don't. But you get them as
So
part
it's
of your
not
subscription.
Netflix. Because Netflix is streaming.
So it's
But
Steam.
I don't think you're gonna be able to get to the stage where you can stream. Like, you can just stream games.
Well, if you live in Korea,
Actually-
you could do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no. In Japan, for the Switch, they've got a version of Biohazard 7 / Resident Evil 7, where you have to be always online, but it pretty much streams the game to you. Like, you download it, like you download maybe like it'll have like the first like the first house bit.
Yeah.
Have that, and then after that, I'll just
auto
download it.
like generate it.
Yeah.
Through streaming.
That was it. Project Stream. They did it in December last year. Google.
Why didn't you mention this last week?
Because I like to surprise you with
That's the worst
so
kind of preparation
for
for
months, Google has been using Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Odyssey to show off the power of its browser-based video gaming streaming service called Project Stream, which has now been renamed Google Stadia.
Okay. So is that a first-person shooter?
That's Assassin's Creed.
Is it online?
No. Yeah.
Is it online against other people?
No.
Because
Why?
that's what Stadia is aiming to do. And the major complaint with Stadia from most people on the internet
Major complaint from Stadia?
is that the only game they've shown is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is designed to be, oh, look at the pretty colours, look at the nice design and artwork.
Still a solid game, sold
It's-
really, really well.
I
wasn't a big fan.
I'm not saying it's
personally,
not, but it's not a heavy combat multiplayer game that's going to crash your streaming system.
Okay.
Thank you for the chortle.
Yeah, okay, right. To put that point out there,
Dead.
when
Kill it.
you play Fortnite or Apex Legends or PUBG, any of those games, how much of the game do you actually have on your hard drive?
Very little.
Very little. How much of the game is actually on their servers and you're using most of the assets from their servers?
Quite a lot.
Probably about 80%, 80 to 90%. So it's already there.
Uh-huh.
So
How many maps are there
and what?
for Apex Legends
Just the
or
one
for
just now.
Fortnite?
For Fortnite, how many maps are there for Fortnite? I don't know, I don't play
One.
that much. Is it still just one?
It's still probably on them.
And they
It's still
will...
one map.
Okay,
but it's
okay,
like
no,
a
that's
giant
fair.
map.
So how
How
is
big is the map for Odyssey?
massive?
Yeah.
Humongous.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Comparing the two is a lot harder.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is most of the assets that you use for your multiplayer online shooter games that you're talking about are already on servers
Not
that aren't on your computer.
And
Not
then
for
you send
first
3 nukes
person
to them
shooter.
and crash the system.
Yeah.
Thank you for like 76.
Or you could have Division 2 where you can't even get up a staircase. Did anybody hear about that
I've
story?
seen
Yeah,
that.
that
I
was
think I've
hilarious,
seen.
man.
I think
Division 2
so
has not done well.
There was a
It's
staircase
They've
in
not
Division
done well.
2.
That's why we've not even bothered talking about it.
Which
It's
just
not
had was just a blank plate on it, and you could not get up the staircase, and it was just so many people were so angry about it.
Was it
one
part of a
blooming
mission?
staircase? Yeah, I think it was part of. You had to get up that staircase. There was other ways to get up
That's
to the
just
next level, but
epic difficulty.
Epic have nothing to do with it.
2 weeks in a row we haven't had to talk about Epic.
So I'm not excited about Apple Arcade.
I'm not excited. Like, it's not something I think I'm going to be taking part in.
It's weird though because
But
Apple.
it is the thing that's like, it seems more concrete. I know what you're saying, like Stadia's had like playthroughs and stuff, but it seems like more concrete to me
Okay.
than Stadia, because like we said last week, there's still so many things they haven't said about it.
Same with Apple. They haven't.
I
Said
know,
everything.
I know.
I know. They're
But they have said it's going to work, it's going to be doable over all these platforms. We've got this many games that we launch. It's going to be done this way within the App Store.
Sorry, I'm saying bye to customers. Okay. Just listening into
Crimson
conversations.
Chain.
Okay.
So,
Bye, Waldo.
what I find funny is Apple have a history of letting other people do stuff and then taking what they've done and making it better or easier or
More accessible.
more accessible. Exactly, that's the words I was looking for. So it's interesting that Apple have come out and said that they're going to do this Apple Arcade. Not even a week after Google came out and said they were doing Stadia. I would have thought, using Apple's track history, that if they don't do something first, then they wait ages and then integrate what other people are doing into what they're doing. Usually.
You could argue things like they've already seen things like Xbox Game Pass, stuff PlayStation is trying to do at the moment, and were attempting to do that. It's just that they've announced it at a similar time to Google.
Yeah.
Which, as an example, earlier this year everyone was talking about the Fire Festival documentaries, either on Netflix or Hulu, that released the same week. That's not a case of, oh, the Hulu one released on Netflix, quick, let's scramble together something. It was that they were both
No,
in
they were all
production
working on it at
the
the same time. I mean, it's the same with movies as well. I mean, you've got the history of animated movies all releasing with the same themes because two competing companies were working on the same themes at the same time. It's not because one of them was working on something and the other company went, oh no, let's make this thing really quickly.
I was going to say, like, right now, have you seen the adverts for the movies Greta and Ma?
No.
So, oh my god, Greta is Chloe Grace Moretz finds a bag on a subway in New York and takes it back to the owner. Then she finds out that she builds a relationship with this woman and she becomes like a motherly figure. She finds that there's like 30 of those bags, all with different destinations and names on it. And then the old woman starts to stalk her.
Creepy.
Ma, old southern lady, buys alcohol for a group of teenagers and then says if they want to party they can hang out in her basement, they just can't go upstairs. And then she starts to stalk them, and it's a weird thing where like she's getting revenge on their parents for being mean to her in high school by like killing her kids, their kids.
Okay.
Like both these movies coming out within the next month, by the way.
Alright, okay.
And I like just again as a more current example of like stuff just coming out at the same time. So I wouldn't rush to say, well, Apple's just throwing something out there like, oh, we can totally do this too. I think they will have been working on it as well.
They'll be working on it for ages. Much like everybody jumped on PlayStation because they released the Move controllers after Nintendo released the Wii controllers, the Wiimotes.
But again, and I'm going to argue both sides of this point as well. You talk about Apple making it more accessible to people. Google announced last week, and they talked about you're going to get this many megabits per second, and it's going to take this many teraflops, and we're going to be able to do it in this many countries using this much fiber optic.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. They use a lot of technical terms, and that's because they were at market shares. They were doing it
the
to
GDC.
Yeah, not for consumers, for investors.
Yeah.
So fair enough. They're using a lot of jargon because they're not talking to the average consumer. But still, that's all we've been given about Stadia was that press conference.
Yeah.
So they've not made it user accessible yet. Apple have instead said, this is what we were doing. This is what you can use it on, this is how you'll be able to access it when it becomes available, and it will be able to spread throughout your whole home. They've made it so much simpler for the consumer in without even doing a press conference about it. They did a release statement. I'm more excited for this than I am for Stadia, I think. I know
you're based in the Apple ecosystem.
I'm based in the Apple ecosystem, but I would still argue that it's done more to get me excited and think it's possible than the Netflix of games, because I don't think you can do streaming with games really to the level that you need to for something like Stadia. But I do think you can have a subscription service for games that gives you thousands of games, well, hundreds at the moment, that are downloadable, easy and free. So that makes me more interested and more excited, and I would like to see how it works across.
Is there details on exactly what games they'll be coming to?
I believe they've
so
mentioned some
Sega,
first-person
Konami,
things.
and Mistwalker.
Well, they've said it was a really weird thing that was sort of like we're collaborating with all of these studios, like Konami and Nickelodeon, and you're like, that's not a studio.
Yeah,
and there's like they've not got big names to agree to this, because I think most people are like, I don't want to put my stuff on Apple, but it could be good. I'm just trying to say we shouldn't say it's going to be terrible straight off.
I'm not saying it's going to be terrible. Apple are good at what they do,
and they do what they're good at.
But at the same point, I don't really
care.
No, I don't really know what they're bringing to the table. Like, I don't understand what games they're going to be looking at. Okay, so bit of research, bit of quick last minute research. Apple showed off a variety of games today, but we don't have a full list of games yet. Apple has revealed a number of titles on its Apple Arcade website though. So, none of these are big, huge, first party games that are going to be running at 4K, 60 frames per second. Actually, I don't recognise any of these games except Sonic Racing.
Sonic Racing?
Which nobody wants to get anyway, because everyone's
so
annoyed about losing all the other licenses.
Having some sort of Sonic.
Yeah, but these are all like indie games.
But that's fine as a starting point. But
that's not what Google Stadia is going for. Google Stadia is going for the big AAA titles.
How many have they got? 4. They have 4 games.
But they're trying to prove that it can be done first. And Apple don't need 25 megabits per second as an internet speed to be able to stream and play those games, because they don't need that much.
No,
they don't. They're not that heavy on a processor.
That's fine, but in a consumer society where people get bored very easily of their gaming, I would argue having 150 games that you can download very easily and play on 5 different devices is better for the regular day-to-day consumer in the 21st century than having 4 AAA titles that you need.
But they're not big games. That's my point. The point is, you could just download these games from the Apple Store anyway. So what is streaming those games gonna have? How is streaming those games gonna have any advantage over just downloading those games and playing them?
Well, no, I don't. Again, I'm not entirely sure that they are streaming it. I think it's a subscription service, much like Xbox Game Pass, where you can then download the games. Except you're not hampered by you can only download these 3 games this month. It's you have 150 games at disposal.
Okay.
And in that respect, it gives much more choice.
But then it's not a Netflix streaming service.
No, but it is a Netflix for video games.
Why?
Because I don't think that streaming is going to work. Netflix gives users an access point to hundreds of movies and TV shows legally for a fixed price per month.
Yeah.
Yes, you can stream it, but you can also download on Netflix.
You can, yeah, by all means.
I think with Apple's Apple Arcade, it's giving you access to hundreds of video games monthly, legally, without having to download ROMs online or whatever, that you can play, and once you get bored of the game, much like you would get bored of a show or a movie on Netflix, you can move on to the next thing.
Okay.
In terms of just a quick thing from this is techradar.com, they have 3 major questions regarding Arcade. Will the multi-platform accessibility limit the games? As in, will the fact that you have to jump from an iPhone to an Apple TV to your Apple Watch, I don't know if that's confirmed, limit the accessibility or limit the number of games you get? We've got a comment.
Have we got a comment? Where?
Is it not a comment?
Oh. Don't most people like playing games that are more popular or more well known though? My point exactly. Yeah. They're not going to be... None of the games I see in that list. I'm going to actually... I'm going to roll a few off and see if anybody recognises any of them.
Angry Birds.
Okay. Where Cards Fall?
No.
No. The Pathless?
No.
Lego Brawls?
Yes.
What's Lego Brawls?
A Lego game that's like a fighter.
Okay. Hot Lava?
Yes.
I do know Hot Lava actually.
Oh, yeah.
I've been waiting for that.
Dinosaur,
I've been waiting for that.
We're going to get Apple Arcade.
We're going to be waiting for that to come out from beta for ages. Oceanhorn 2, Knights of the Lost Realm.
No, but I want to play it really badly.
Beyond a Steel Sky.
No, but that sounds beautiful.
Mr. Turtle.
No, that sounds amazing.
Frogger in Toy Town.
Yeah.
Lega Art House Cardopocalypse.
Did you say Lego?
No, Lega Art House Cardpocalypse.
I'm so confused.
It's like Apocalypse but with cards. And it's Lega, not Lego.
Cool.
To avoid the copyright issues there, well done. No Way Home.
Yes.
Down to Bermuda. No, Down in Bermuda, sorry.
No.
The Bradwell Conspiracy.
No.
Project from First Light.
No.
Lifelike.
No.
Sayonara Wild Hearts.
No.
I don't think that's how it's pronounced. I think I put the intonation in wrong there. Repair.
Jesus. No.
Sneaky Sasquatch.
No.
UFA on tape. First Contact.
No.
UFA on tape. Actually, I don't know if that's an acronym for something. I can't think of what that is. Sonic Racing. Woohoo.
Yes.
Doomsday Vault.
No.
Atone.
No.
Heart of the Elder Tree.
No.
Those are the same game. Hitchhiker.
No.
Spider-Saurus.
No.
Chaos Monkey, I love that one. Yaga.
No.
Monomals.
No.
It's like an animal or a mammal or
one
a
animal.
Monomal.
One animal.
It's just an animal with one leg. Enter the Construct.
No.
Overland.
No.
Winding Worlds.
No.
Or Kings of the Castle.
No.
No. I don't know any of these games. Apart
How
from
many
one.
of those games legitimately did I have a reaction to, not knowing them?
2.
No, at least 10.
2.
There are a lot of games there that this might be a personal thing, but I want that access to just try. What
really
like,
don't.
Let's say it's like £7 a month.
No, I wouldn't do that.
I would.
See, the problem is you live in the Apple.
I'm well aware of that, and I know that
and
people
you're used to
people
paying for apps all the time.
No, because I don't download apps anymore.
Okay.
I'm one of those people who downloads the free games.
Okay, so I mean, my experience with Apple is that all of the apps that I ever want, I have an iPad, and all of the apps that I ever want for my iPad usually cost between £1 and 19 pence and about £3, £4, £5. Whereas on Google they're free, just always free. So I don't, and Apple's always struck me as the kind of.
I'm so blind. I'm needing to lean super in to see these.
Apple strikes me as the kind of place where you pay for everything because Apple are always money grabbing as much as possible.
Because that's what companies are supposed to be doing.
No, they don't need to do that. and Google always give away this stuff for free. So yeah, it's Google Stadia and Apple Arcade are two completely different things and should not be compared to each other. That's where I stand.
Okay.
Because
I disagree.
Because Google Stadia is trying to be a streaming service like Netflix, whereas Apple Arcade is not trying to be a Netflix, it's trying to be Xbox Live Game Pass.
Which is more intriguing to me.
Because you download the stuff and then play it. You don't stream it live.
You can't do a gaming streaming service.
You can.
You can unless you're a very... Yes, you
can.
When
Google Stadia comes out and I stream it live on this laptop, which is an old i3 laptop, through the Google browser, through Google Chrome, using a third-party controller, you're gonna be...
Okay, you have fun with your 4 games. I will play 3 million.
Games that nobody's ever heard of.
So all of them, I'm genuinely intrigued by most of the games you mentioned. I was like, that Dr. Coconut Butters? That sounds interesting to me. I would totally be interested in that.
Nah, not for me. Do we have any Japan news? Actually, to wrap this all up.
Look at Japan news.
I didn't have any Japan news.
What will the game catalog look like over time? It'll get better.
You're still going on about this.
What about multiplayer? They didn't mention multiplayer because it's going to be single player.
Because it's not streaming.
Yeah, I'm fine with that because streaming is not possible. I totally agree with that. I don't think it's going to be possible. I'm more interested. I know that's an Apple ecosystem thing, but I'm just intrigued.
No. So
I want to try the games.
So
I'm excited.
They're saying 25 megabits per second for 1080. Okay, I don't have a 4K TV. I'm not really bothered about 4K. I'm not even that bothered about 1080 to be honest. I'm quite happy with 720. So what? 20 meg should do for 720 if that's the case.
I guess.
And my internet at home is running at 60 meg. The internet in the shop runs at about 70 to 80 meg, so it shouldn't be a problem at all. But we will see. Time will tell.
I was more excited about this announcement
than me.
Than I was about Stadia. Because Stadia,
again, I'm in the Google ecosystem, so you're right.
No, but it's not even just a purely I'm in the Apple ecosystem, so I can do these things. It was more like, this sounds to me more exciting than what Stadia had to offer.
That's why you're in the Apple ecosystem, because what Apple does excites you.
Yeah, but
that's why I'm siding with Google Stadia, because I love everything that Google does, because I feel like the way they deliver things with the technical aspects, because even though it was GDC, that excites me because I love that.
It's a difference between you're smart and I'm dumb.
No.
I'm saying in terms of technology. In terms of technology, that's not
the way they position these things. Yeah,
which is fine.
Yeah, it's still fine. You can have
I stand by that. Is going to be fat. It's going to come out way earlier. More people are going to use it, and it's going to last a lot longer than Google Stadia.
Because it's not a streaming service.
It's not a streaming service because it's because it's possible.
It's not.
It's also not a unicorn.
But stop calling it the Netflix of gaming, please.
Everyone's using that phrase. They've been using that phrase for the last 5 years. You guys, looking for the
stop talking about the Netflix of gaming.
People are trying to find the Netflix of gaming when streaming isn't possible.
It will only happen when your internet isn't 5 megabits per second, and I know a lot of you have that.
Hi.
So, we're at least 5-10 years off of that because they're still upgrading infrastructures. We may leave the EU and never get an upgraded infrastructure. In which case, I'm moving to Korea where it's 100 gigabits per second minimum.
That being said, one last bit of arcade news.
What's that?
Our Brexit film for this month's movie night.
Are we moving it?
It has. We have to delay our Brexit movie screening for another month.
There was a load of votes at Westminster, and unfortunately, it's meant that we have to delay our Brexit movie.
This isn't even a joke, by the way. We genuinely have to delay it. We'll probably do it next month, or if we have a spare Saturday where we don't have an event, we might announce that we're doing one surprise. But at the moment, we have to push it back, just because of as we mentioned earlier, private bookings, etc. If you have purchased a ticket for it online, that will be transferable to either coming in on Friday. Or on Saturday night, even Friday night this week, I suppose, to do some gaming.
Can make that executive decision. No, you can. It's fine. It's
because it makes sense for the customer. Because we can't force them to come on Saturday.
Yeah.
Or if we do announce that we're doing it later this month when we have a spare Saturday, which probably isn't likely, or for next movie night, it'll still be transferable. Just hit us up on social media and we'll make sure we talk to you about it. I'm getting penned, so that means it's the end of the podcast. Thank you for listening to Senders Podcast. Sorry there was no Japan news. We had a lot of arcade stuff, and we had to argue about
Google Stadia and Apple Arcade for as long as possible.
Yeah, well, like I said, I did tell you, I might be wrong, you might think I'm wrong, but we did have 20 minutes of content for that.
That's because you pushed it so.
because I have an opinion on it, and you have an opinion, and that's what podcasts are for. Thank you for listening to our second audio-only signage podcast, or viewing the visual one, which is the 20th or something like that. I haven't kept track. He was on a lot of these.
Bye, guys. Love you.
We're still alive.